I have with me today Adel Jouini, an extremely talented Tunisian jazz guitarist, composer, songwriter, and teacher, now living in Montreal, Canada. Welcome, Adel.
Welcome. Thank you, Stefan. I'm really happy. Thank you for having me in this interview about the Jazz FM, the Easy Jazz FM.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure. My first foray into jazz guitar music started in 1979 with American Garage by Pat Metheny Group. And then listening to your music brought me back to that level of excitement for the music. You have a natural, organic style that draws the listener in and makes you feel connected and comfortable. What was your introduction to the music?
Yes, it began, really very naturally because, I had an early influence and taste for music, actually, being born in a family of musicians, in Tunisia. My father was a really renowned musician and composer, singer. He was known all over the Oriental and Arab world about his compositions and things like that. He's been sung by hundreds of singers, and since I was at an early age, since I started to get my awakening to music, and I saw around me a lot of things happening. I couldn't really avoid thinking about being like them, musicians. Right. I'm talking about my brothers and my father. My father later, the connection with my father came later, actually. The first were my brother and their friends, because they were having friends coming to our house, and they shared dinner and music and all of those things. And so I kind of delved into that atmosphere since I was maybe 8 years old or something. I didn't realize the proportion of the things that were about to come, but because I didn't have an entire consciousness about what was coming on, right. But that, I think, the birth of my musician word, the word of musicianship and things, and all the concepts have started there, just from this beginning. Very, very. It's an education. I can say it's quite an education.
Well, I remember you told me earlier when we were speaking about how your older brother went off to England and you found his collection of music. Exactly. And that was a real stirring or change point for you because of the kind of music that it wasn't something that was normally around, and it got you excited. Tell me a little more about that.
Exactly, yeah. My elder brother, Fred, was the band leader of that group in Tunisia, and he just was, not that mentor, but he was not a mentor, but he was, he was helping me a lot about, writing lyrics for me, because I needed some help at a certain point of time in my life. And I went many times to visit him in England, and he just showed me around, a lot of things. He made me discover a lot of great albums and records. The one I remember exactly was an album of Eumir Deodato. I don't know if you know that musician from Brazil. Mm-hmm. He lived in New York, and the album was Very Together. Very Together was an album that really gave me that triggered in me that kind of soul funk kind of imagination, and I love that album. He's been playing that album so many times, and I told him, can I have a copy of this album or something, and I brought it back, and later I bought it in Tunisia. I found it in a store, like a secondhand record. I just got it, because I remember everything was tied in my brain with those moments of discovering great music. And he was a keyboard player, actually. Eumir Deodato was a keyboard player. Right. He was a composer, actually. Those were the things that really impacted me when I was very young and didn't have that much of an experience. As I didn't even think about maybe. Yes, I was thinking of that great desire of being a musician. But how do I come to this this stage of being a musician. So that's the story has to begin and to unfold in years, and so.
Well, I have to say, listening to your music, I definitely have to say that your talent is extraordinary. You're a phenomenal guitarist. But in our conversation previously, you said you played other instruments. And have you thought of producing something with playing, say, your first love, which is drums, or the bass, or another instrument? Have you thought about putting production together, doing something like that as opposed to guitar?
Stefan, I would say that you have a great question, because I needed to play different instruments, and I started at an early age with the drums. As I told you, I began. I thought I was going to be directed only into that first love of that first instrument, which was drums. Because I just tripped over a snare drum in our house, and my brother left them in somewhere, so I just was putting out all those things and trying to experiment. So that was my thing, that was the thing. My father just bought me a toy drum, from Italy. He went there, so he brought me I remember that red drum, it was a toy, but I started with that drum, it was a toy drum, but I was just something like 11 years, 12 years old. So that was something great for me, because I had to begin with that. And I just constructed just a few things because it was just a toy, I didn't have a hi-hat. So I just got out a tin can, kind of box, just to make cymbals. And I had to fabricate something to make it look as a true drum. And I just had a stand in which I put a stick on it and just get those cutout boxes, metal boxes, so to make two cymbals, to make it like a hi-hat. And so I had my hat, just a kick, one tom and one cymbal, or just a snare, and that was great. And I remember playing nonstop the Harvey Mason kind of solo drum on Broadway, because I bought that record, when I came out of school one day, and I passing by, dropping by our record shop in Tunis downtown, and I discovered that live record of George Benson, that really hit me like never before. And I was on drum at that time, I heard Harvey Mason doing that kind of great solo. I just picked out that solo, and I was playing with I remember all those things because I was rehearsing with Harvey Mason drumming, and I remember exactly those exact hits, and this is part of my construction, my education, because I learned a lot through the records, and I was listening a lot. I think one of your questions is going to be about how do I prefer listening or playing. I think one is
I was just about to ask you. You're not allowed to jump ahead here, Adel, but I was going to ask you that it sounds like you have this real focus for playing. You pick up an instrument, you even create your own instruments, and have you always had a desire to play since the beginning of your musical introduction, or are there moments where you just want to sit and lose yourself in the music, just listen to the music and not have the desire to jump in and be a part of it, but to be a part from the ethereal, from the sound perspective, as in lose yourself and let yourself be part of that music? So is that true for you?
Yeah, both of them are true. To tell the truth, Stefan, listening to music was a kind of an escapade for me. It's a beautiful escapade. It's something. It was a discovery. It was something that I could learn from. That because discovering great albums at that time, it was something extremely important for me, because I heard many styles, and I was almost had leaning on that type of jazz thing. It was listening to to those things, you know, like Diodato, George Benson, Harvey Mason, and Stevie Wonder. Songs in the Key of Life was one of the double record that really was that really did matter in my life, because I've learned so many great songs, and I try to play them, try to take them off by ear, you know, when playing guitar and things like that. You know, very complicated songs, you know, although there were pop songs, but the pop jazz songs. Stevie Wonder is a great musician and composer and singer, and he has everything. So you could learn from this man, Mr. Stevie Wonder. Mm-hmm. So Stevie Wonder was one of my biggest influence, you know.
Really?
I remember that I shared that with my other brothers, because my other brothers were also listening to Stevie Wonder.
Oh, okay.
But Songs in the Key of Life was one of my what was a departing point of my discoveries, you know, like Weekend in LA, Songs in the Key of Life, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, the live album. I don't remember exactly. Yes, it was one live album of Marvin Gaye. Those were the first album that I could listen to and I lose myself, as you say, because I was discovering and wanting to be part of it, you know, in some way.
Okay.
So that really triggered in me the great desire of playing an instrument, playing drums, bass, and then arrived the love of my life. You know, the guitar was something that really blew my mind completely when I started giving a closer ear to George Benson's soloing and things like that, because I discovered guitar playing, and it was awesome guitar playing. Because if you listen to Weekend in LA, there's a lot of improvisational skills and talent and great expression, you know, great expression, and that I could learn a lot from George Benson. He was one of the guitarists that really opened my ear to that instrument and jazz playing and things like that. So, and then I had to go a little further and listen to other jazz guitarists, you know, like Tal Farlow, Joe Pass, Kenny Burrell, all those great jazz guitarists. You know, Pat Metheny.
Yes.
Pat Metheny was kind of influential to me, because he had very modern sound in the 80s. And I remember 81, 82, I was listening to the White Album, you know, the Pat Metheny group with Danny Gottlieb and Lyle Mace.
Yes.
He passed away a couple of years ago, I think. It's really sad. Great musicians and great discovery for me, because I was really it really blew my mind the way I remember Face Dance, you know, all those tracks that really I wanted to play, you know. I really took them by ear, you know, just the harmonies and things like that. So it was part of my education, you know, kind of.
So I have to ask you, because I have watched your videos playing, and I will say that, as I said at the intro, that you do have a style that is similar enough to Pat Metheny to have stirred in me that sense of there's that music again. But when I watch you playing, you look trance-like. You don't appear to be measuring the tempo. You don't appear to be listening to yourself play and following along in the beat as though you're remembering the song the way you want to play it. It's almost as if you have walked away. When you watch yourself playing, it's as though you have gone to another space. You've become more transcendent away from the playing. And I'm watching Adel Jouini play the guitar, but when you see your face is it's as though you're having an experience, and the playing part is just a very small aspect to the whole watching you play. I would love to see you play live. Can you walk me through where you are in your mind when you play?
Yes, it's what you translate here is really what really happens, that I can't really hold it back, because that happens the minute I walk on stage. Yes, it has a lot of connections there in my mind. You know, I'm just you know, very concentrated, and I want to deliver a great performance, actually, and I just sense some nervous time, you know. I sense some nervous time actually, but then I just step off that fear of going on stage, because there's a fear for every musician, for every artist on stage, and I just step off it and just reach a kind of second level of where I reach sort of transcendence. I don't know exactly where I'm flying off, but you know, I just take a flight. I just take a flight and let myself go. And what is great is that my friends, the musicians that are playing with me, because we played together, we rehearsed a lot together, we understood ourselves. There was a chemistry that was born out of our interactions, and I figuring out what the best production that we would give. You know, they let me go and they just back me up, and that's great because they don't interrupt me. Because I feel like I feel like having a very high fly, You know, it's like a high fly. It's like getting high without drugs. I mean, you know, in some ways, I never experienced drugs nor smoking, nothing. Yes, I drink a little bit, and I'm not an alcoholic person, but I like having a drink sometimes with friends and share it with my wife, and you know, not every day, but that's good. But I never experienced drugs, and I know from experience that so many musicians have experienced that kind of thing, like Bob Marley or even others, you know. But maybe they were in a situation where they needed some to relax their mind from the big abundance of things that they were thinking about, the great pressure they were under. Because we're facing great pressure when you're going on stage. You have to deliver great performance, artistry. You have a responsibility. I mean, that's why you fear you go wrong somewhere, or it's just a matter of you're not sharing the people there, the audience, because you're happy you have an audience there, but you fear to go wrong somewhere, someplace at a certain minute, you know, at the minute so you want to do better, you want to do great stuff, you know. That's the thing, you know. I think most of the musicians are just drinking or having drugs before they go on stage. But in my mind, yes, there is some kind of explosion in your minds. There is an explosive thing that happens in your mind the minute that you step on stage, and you have to deliver great production, great stage production. You know?
Right. So you would say then that I don't want you to take this as a negative. Your drug of choice is your music, and possibly your guitar would be your drug of choice. Exactly. And which is your favorite? Is it acoustic or electric? Which is your favorite?
So to tell you the truth, Stefan, I love both sounds. Each sound has its own specific place. You see, yes. I have a very sensitive connection with the nylon string guitar, the acoustic guitar, because I really feel it really, because I play it very often, you know, even along the daytime, you know, and I pick up my guitar and I just play. I don't play electric often. Most of the time I use electric when I'm on stage, but it happened that, and that was an accident. Sometime I just prepared myself to play certain songs with an electric guitar, but that day was an extremely hot day, and accidentally my guitar just got detuned. You know, it was off tune. And I had the only choice that I had two guitars, and I had the nylon string guitar, and I picked up my nylon string guitar, and that was a blessing, because I didn't, you know, all the other things that I programmed in my head to play with electric guitar, I played them with the acoustic, because I had a problem with my electric guitar. It was off tune, and that was a blessing. The thing that you don't schedule in your mind and happen, and it's beautiful because it was a great sound. And I only scheduled a couple of songs to play them with acoustic, and it happened that all the concert was with acoustic. I did, so
it was a special event for the people that got to see your
Exactly.
playing at that evening, because
Absolutely.
it's an acoustic event as opposed to half electric, half acoustic.
But I love electric also. You know, I love when I play jazz or jazz fusion, or I need an electric with some effect, some chorus and distortion. I like to play distortion also. I like to play distortion with some jazz concepts, and you know, it's more like a fusion oriented, you know, kind of playing. Not rock metal, or you know, I'm not into it. I'm not a metal guitar player, you know, but I like that distortion. You know, I like distortion with you know, that's beautiful. You know, I love all the great guitar sounds. You know, Stefan. You know.
So tell me about. I'm going to drag you back into your history again and get you to tell me about the first time you played in front of an audience. The very first time. What was the experience like?
Absolutely, there was a very first time I played, but it wasn't under my real about my real production. Me as an affirmation of what I worked so hard for a couple of decades, because it took me 2 decades to get to the point where I could say I'm a songwriter, I'm a singer. Here I am. So I can propose something I created for you. So it was not in days or weeks or months. It was I could say at least 2 decades that I worked this desire of becoming someone I could offer the audience my creation, my production, the things that I loved, my internal being, you know. You know what I mean, Stefan? It's very difficult to express, because it's something that I experimented, you know, like in years, you know, from the 70s to the 80s, and I started demoing myself and demoing my concepts and music, and starting listening to what I could produce, if it is publishable or trash. If it's trash, so I throw it away. So, and I didn't really it happened that I didn't like what I produced sometimes, you know, but that was something like an endless practice, practice of creation, and trying to assess myself, you know, and trying to make myself, trying to bring some other people, my friends, my musician, my family. Please listen and give me your and one of my brothers, my 2 brothers, really gave me their opinion at that time, because they were, you know, they had more experience than me, you know. They just led me to, you know, they said that's great, that you need to do a lot more work on that, you know, and they gave me some of their opinions that really served me well at that time, you know.
Right. But I thought from our previous conversation that your very first audience performance was when you went to visit your brother in Paris. Yes. And you went up on stage.
Exactly.
And you played, but were there people there? Were you playing in front of an audience, or had everybody left and you were just on stage?
Yes. Yes. My brother just invited me to take the sticks and ride on his drum, and I played with his trio. So I started playing with all my heart, and he said, "I love you, my brother. I love you," and it just gave me, and people started, you know, putting their hands together, and I was like, you know, in a fairy tale, you know. It was for me a fairy tale, because, you know, I never experienced that feeling before. Although I was invited to a wedding a few years before, you know, and I did that thing, you know, with some a band, you know, that really invited me. But you know, as a teenager, as a real teenager, you don't know these kind of things. You play because somebody invited you, your brother or the band leader, you know, and you feel like, you know, your heart is open, and you feel like you just it's uplifting. It's something that I can't express enough. It's like it's an excitement that you can't describe. It's an excitement that you can't describe. And the real performance that I actually want to talk about actually was me. You know, after a decade of hard work and demoing and things like that. So that's what I want to take you, Stefan. Is just after an album called Colors of Life that I went to the USA in 1996 just to shop around my tape. You know, 5 tape. I was just I just had something like 8 or 9 tracks, you know, but they told me no, they can't listen to 8 tracks. You need 4 or 5 tracks. That's it. And I just prepared 5 tracks on a tape, and then I went to San Francisco, where my sister was actually living there, you know, and I had a few contacts in LA. I stayed a couple of weeks in San Francisco, and then moved to LA to go to shop around my tape and see how things are just happening there. And that's where I discovered the Kalimba record independent label of the great Maurice White and Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, I found them on a magazine. You know, because that time, you know, I had the very I was a little bit taken by surprise, because I thought you could really submit your songs to major label. Now, that's not how it happened. Right. Because there was a machine telling you, we do not accept unsolicited material. And I said, what am I going to do here? And I was not prepared for that, you know, at all. So yeah, these are the things that really happen, you know, when you don't have any experience with the industry. Right. You have to learn. You have to go forward and move on with these things.
Right. And you've done, I mean, just the proliferation of your work, you've done, at least I think personally, that you've done well. I'm hoping that the industry is taking notice as well. So to keep you moving forward. In that process, though, do you prefer creation and working with your work, or do you prefer performing your work? Which for you is the leading edge of how you do your work?
Yes, I would put it like that. Creation is an intimate moment that is very important for a creator, a songwriter, or composer. You know, I think I am. You know, I think I am. I really fought very hard to become a songwriter, a composer. You know, because I had those images, those really great images of great talented musicians that were composers, and I wanted to be like that. You know, how could I project myself in the future to become that kind of? You need to do a lot of work. You need to do a lot of transcription. You need to learn. You need to listen a lot. So it took me quite a very long time, you know. I say a couple of decades, but more than that, maybe 3 decades, maybe I could say. So creation is an intimate moment, and I should say it's the flow of imagination and emotion we attempt to materialize, you know, Stefan, at that moment, you know. And I've learned throughout the years to capture that moment, you know, that first moment where there's this spark. I can identify that spark, you know. I learned to identify that spark. So that's it takes years to do that. It takes years to do that. I identify the first spark and I just grab it. And try to give it shape, you know, to give it shape and try to, you know, to give it shape and to give it birth. So it's an attempt to materialize an idea, you know. First embryo, I say it's an initial embryo. When I get to that point of initial embryo, well, I just, if I like it, I keep that embryo. So I tend to develop it. I develop it across many constructions, and I try to pick up my guitar and just back myself up with some chordal thinking, because it takes some orchestration to improve that embryo. So to improve that embryo, it takes some orchestration. So my guitar is my orchestration, because I play progressions, and I know all the chords. I've learned all the progressions. I know all the progressions. I know and I've learned through standards also, because I've been learning through standards. I played jazz standards like Cole Porter, Hammerstein, Richard Rodgers. I could name Stella by Starlight, Footprints, Wayne Shorter. I went into Weather Report. I mean, I tried to transcribe all those very complicated playing and composition. Right. So this brought me a lot of materials, and as a compositional skills, you know, in terms of, and I have them like a bank of education. Mm-hmm. So I'm not copying, but I'm using that knowledge, that educational process that I went through at my own for my own desire of creating something original, because that's my goal, you know, in life. That was my goal in life. Stefan.
Yeah, and it definitely comes across in your music. You can hear the influences, but you can tell that they're not a copied or a borrowed influence. It's a stylized influence that you've adapted through your own skills. Do you have a favorite song that you've created, something that is yours, your child from embryo, that you would say, this is my favorite? I know we don't like to say we have favorite children, but in your case with the music, your children, do you have one? Do you have a favorite?
Let me tell you something, Stefan, for the birth of my first child in 2002, I wrote a song while he was in his mother belly. You know, I had that inspiration, you know, to write a song for my future boy, for my future son. I called it Summer Boy. And I did a demo of that song, you know. Actually, I have a great feeling about that song, and I like that song because that it's a song that I've really expressed from the bottom of my heart, from deep down inside. You understand, Stefan? Yeah. So Summer Boy is one of the songs that I would. I never finished. I never did a final recording of that song. I just have a demo. And just to listen to the rendition of, because, you know, we need a demo when we create a song, Stefan. We need the demo to look at it as an object, as an external object, you know, materialized as an. It's not like you play a song and you write it down like this and you play it in your room with yourself, and only the walls are listening to you. So that's you only hear the echo of yourself and your guitar, but you don't see the object as getting materialized in front of you as an object, and you need that. So the demo serves to be that kind of materialized object. So That's why it's very important, and I think it's a necessary process. So I did it, and I have very great feeling about that song, you know, and I feel I would integrate it to vocal album or something, you know, in the next process of my next project, you know. That would be a vocal project, and I'm just anticipating all those things, you know.
Well, that is something I'm going to be asking, but not quite yet. Again, you're jumping ahead here of the queue. I ask this of everyone, and I'm going to ask you as well. What is the best advice you have ever been given, and who gave it to you?
Maybe there is. I would say yes. The best advice, I think, I must love what I do, and being faithful to what I do. You know, being faithful to my dreams, to the thing that I've dreamed of, because they are with me now today, and they're just backing me up. You know, my dreams are backing me up because I believed in my dreams, and my dreams were very, very kind to me. It was never easy, to tell the truth, Stefan, but I'm very grateful because yes, I tried to be very connected to myself and faithful to what I always loved to do, you know, which is being a a good musician and great composer, and all those dreams have happened because they were there from the very first step of my life into the world of music.
So you've been true to your craft. You've been true to, it's almost like your music is your faith, and you've been true to your craft and not stepped aside to let it because it got too hard. You're going to put it aside. No, you've worked through the hard
Although
parts.
many things have come across my way just to take me off this track.
Right.
But I never let them do that, because inside of me, I had this belief, the credential of myself, because I have those credits inside of me telling me, go forward. Listen to what people have to say to you and their opinions. But not all opinions are good for you, because you know best what's inside of you. Your inner truth, inner truth, what you are actually, what you are into the world. Also, you discover that, and you develop that thing. That's a very long process of your personality, your identity. And
it's growth. I imagine you'll probably be inundated with more and more of these challenges, but it sounds like you are going to be an apostle to your musical faith, and that's a good thing. The other side of you, though, Adel, is that you are a teacher, and you teach music. I imagine that is it guitar that you're teaching?
Exactly. I'm teaching guitar, yes, to people, to different ages, of people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in actually 2 schools, and I teach young people to play guitar.
What is the most important lesson that you teach your students?
To be patient, and to love the instrument. I can show them my passion for the instrument, and what I ask out of them is to let this passion of music for music grow inside of them. And I show them in my articulation, in the way I behave with them, because maybe I wouldn't be that mentor for them, but I try to act as a mentor. So I'm not just giving them the technical stuff that they should rehearse at home, and they should do their homework.
Right.
Actually, yes, they should do that, because to get better at playing their guitar, they have to practice a lot, and then I ask them, I ask even their parents to give them 15 minutes a day to practice. But that's not it, that's not all. I try to convey that passion I have for music into the young generation, the future generation of musicians.
So you are an apostle, you are an evangelist to the musical faith.
I believe in that, because I believe so much in that. It's part of my life. It's part of my being. It's something that I grew up with from the very beginning, Stefan.
So here's the final. You've already jumped ahead on the cue, but I'll give you the final. What is next for Adel Jouini? What's coming down the pipe?
Yes. So what is next for me, Stefan, is I'm actually driven for a vocal project, that consists of putting a good selection of great materials. They are just original songs, and and I'm actually collaborating. I wanted to collaborate with lyricists, to give me help about writing poems for me, and giving their talent also, because I wanted to mix talent in this album, to mix a talent with the album. I don't want to do it on my own. I've been doing it a lot on my own because I didn't find the right people to work with, actually, in years. So yes, I had my brother in England just help me. He sent me a lot of poems and things that I might use. I've chosen some of them, but now I'm just working with a lyricist from New Zealand, and it happens that he had a lot of great materials, as a lyricist, and his poem writing is quite interesting, It's quite, and I'm just I'm trying to work songs with his lyrics, it happens that it fits perfectly well, you know, and I'm trying to arrange those things, and I'm on the demoing stage right now. It's not really final. It's gonna take months, maybe 1 year or more.
Well, I am eager. I am anticipating it because, as I said, I have listened to a number of your pieces. I've watched the videos. I would definitely like to see you live. So hopefully that's coming up as well. You'll be doing some live performances because I would enjoy going to that. But for now, we are here to listen to the musical stylings of Adel Jouini with Flying. Okay, and I want to thank you, Adele. It has been a sincere pleasure speaking with you today. I look forward to hearing more from you, hopefully in the near future. If we have to wait a year, we have to wait a year, and I'm anticipating it's going to be phenomenal, like all the work that I've heard from you. So thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Stefan. I appreciate it a lot, and I'm really thankful. I'm really grateful for you interviewing me, and for the Easy Jazz FM also. You know, all my appreciation go to them, to the whole crew of Easy Jazz FM. So thank you very much, Stefan. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to meet you. And
it's been my pleasure. Have a phenomenal.
I will let you know all my. I will let you know about all my last works and things like that. You know.
Perfect. We can stay in touch. Hopefully, you'll have a great weekend and keep finding sparks and producing those embryos of music. Stay with the faith.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So much, Stefan.
Bye bye.